Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 59 of Word Ninjas Live. We have a short crew this weekend since people are off doing various shenanigans and diabolical machinations, as we do. But I am, as always, your instigator of literary productivity, Charles, and joining me today is the person with the best attendance record so far, Will.
Do I get a certificate of attendance?
Yeah, you'll get like a $10 gift card or something at some point.
Yay.
And then everyone else will just point and mock them at some point.
I'll hold up my certificate and be like, ha.
That's what they get for missing out on episode 59, the last official Sunday episode.
Indeed.
Due to various scheduling shenanigans, we have decided that Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is a more viable option going forward. So not this Wednesday, but next is when episode 60 will happen. So don't look for us this coming Sunday. We're not going to be around. I think some of us are actually going to be at, what is that, Brooklyn Book Festival.
Officially, just so people know, the next episode will be on September 24th.
Yeah, that day. All right. Come on, slide over to show notes. There we go. All right. We are tweaking things a little bit before we make the migration to a new night, but we still have some conversation topics, as I have rephrased them for the moment. We'll see how long that sticks. I've tossed in two for this week. The first one being, how can readers, viewers, or just fans of a particular universe have a rational discussion of plot or character elements without falling back to just name-calling and saying, my opinion is the only one that matters, and screw anyone who says otherwise? Because there has to be a freaking method or option or way of doing some sort of rational discussion with other human beings about these topics. It just doesn't feel like it.
Especially if you're trying to have said conversation on the internet.
Yeah. If it's person to person, usually you can kind of gauge their body language and kind of tweak your messaging and tone and voice and all that to at least make it somewhat neutral. But
Plus, people tend to be more civil in person because their words are going to their specific name and face. They can't hide behind the anonymity of the internet.
yeah, there's that too.
But, yeah, if you're on the internet, Tumblr, Reddit, Facebook, forums, wherever you're talking about, there's a potential. It's just no hold bars flame fest. I've seen it happen. It's depressing and makes me lose faith in humanity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shows and stories and universes out there that I'm a pretty solid fan of or really like to enjoy discussing. But I have my opinions and people have theirs.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be very hard to discuss, like, this is how I perceive things to be versus that is how they perceive things to be, and then we leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
No one really seems to care much about what the creator believes or what their perception on things are or what they believe canon is, and as the creators, what they say is canon is canon.
Mm-hmm. There's a post I've seen going around on Tumblr that's a friendly reminder of what headcanon really means. It does not mean I disagree with the original creator, so I'm changing the plot. It means this area is kind of fuzzy and not explained well, so I'm going to fill in some details to better explain it. That's what headcanon means.
Is there a proper term for, I don't like the creator's vision, so this is my vision, and everyone else should just believe what I say?
There is, but the words I would use might make this not suitable for word ninjas.
Fair enough.
Basically, it's called being a
Nice person.
for the so and so for Bruno. Bruno. Yeah.
Hmm. It is interesting how people can get so invested in certain. God damn it. Certain. I was hoping that was far away enough from the mic. Apparently not. Um,
Do you leave it on the same desk?
it's on the same desk, but it's 2 feet away. But
But the vibrations will carry through the desk and the mic will pick it up.
apparently, I'm going to put that somewhere else so that if people comment on the video, it doesn't pick up as much. And completely derail my thought.
We were
As
talking about you're saying something about how people are so invested in their headcanons, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting how some universes people are so invested in characters or certain plot points or something that they have so much trouble allowing for other people's views and opinions.
It's probably good Ed's not on this one because he's probably rant for a while since he's in the roleplay community from one of the biggest anime mangas out there.
Which has multiple versions and everyone has their preference.
Mm. But going back to the original topic about how we can have these conversations, specifically speaking on the internet, I think the easiest way to avoid you can have those intellectual conversations on the internet. It's just how you go about it. I find avoiding insults is really good. I've seen people start out their rationality with insulting other people. Don't do that because right off the bat you're lighting a fuse.
This version is stupid because the other version was more entertaining to me and
Yeah,
to everyone else.
don't go off insulting anyone or anything or anyone's opinions at all. You can disagree with someone else's opinions, but and I've seen it done on the internet really well, where people actually have intelligent conversations from opposing viewpoints without insulting each other. And instead of going, you're wrong and here's why, you should go, that's a valid opinion that I disagree with and here's why. You're not saying
Mm.
the other person's wrong, you're just saying you don't agree with them. And that's fine, because it's opinions. Excuse me.
Yeah.
If you want to avoid the trolls, which you're gonna get, trolls. People who are specific. There are people who are specifically going to disagree with you violently just to piss you off. They don't necessarily even have an opinion or know what you're talking about, but they'll disagree with you because they enjoy hiding behind the anonymity of the internet to piss other people off. That's what block lists are for. Just block them. Hide their comments. Ignore them. Because they want to get your goat. And if
Not
you
my
ignore
goat.
them and don't acknowledge them, they'll go away. Because they want to upset you, and if you're not getting upset, then they're not going to have any fun, and they'll go somewhere else.
And that's why the phrase "don't feed the trolls" is a phrase.
Mm-hmm. Don't feed the trolls. And encourage other people who are talking with you to not feed the trolls as well. Because other people might see that someone else said something, and then it starts a war behind your back. See it on Tumblr all the time where someone will send a nasty comment to someone and other followers will start sending nasty comments back to the first person, and then it just gets worse.
Mm. Seeing as there's so much anonymity available online, I think if people still do utilize that, even if they're trying to be sensible, maybe there's some phrasings you can utilize to better put your opinion and position out there. Like, my opinion is blah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, this is what I believe. It is not an official statement. It isn't necessarily canon. This is not what the creator has officially stated. This is just what I feel like
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yes, definitely make sure your opinions are stated as opinions, and don't try to sound all hoity-toity.
Unless you are the creator of something and then you're actually discussing it, then hey, by all means say, this is what I am writing, this is how
Mm,
I am putting this. If
yeah.
people are having trouble understanding that or it's not being conveyed to you in that manner, then okay, let's work on that, figure out a better way of doing it. It rarely seems to get to that point. It always
Mm,
seems to devolve.
yeah. It goes down to the you're wrong, you're stupid, no, you're wrong, you're stupid kind of thing. And then nothing is accomplished.
Why do I feel like that's how a lot of the challenged books have been challenged?
Probably.
Because people just can't seem to have a valid discussion about them.
Mm.
Would actually be interesting to see if we could get behind some of those, why the book was challenged and what was the positioning from the challenger and all that, to see if that would hold up.
I mean, some of them made sense if it's racially charged or whatnot. I was actually watching some videos on. It was funny because we're talking about banned books, and was it Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn that was banned, or both?
Uh, Probably both, but I think it was Tom Sawyer specifically.
Because I was watching the Game Grumps, and they were actually talking about those books and how Tom Sawyer was banned because it uses the N word,
Mm.
and it's not exactly PC on modern days. But he talks about how if you actually read the book, I think it was Tom Sawyer. Tom Sawyer, I forget which one it was. It was either Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn. Is actually very positive. Like he actually becomes friends with the African American who has the name that I can't. What?
That's Huck Finn.
Huck Finn actually becomes friends with the individual whose name I can't say on the air because his name is basically the N word. N word Joe.
Mm.
Mark Twain was actually very anti-segregation in an era where segregation was the norm. So he was a bit ahead of his times. But the other book is actually really bad. Like I said, I forget which one it is.
And I haven't read them since middle
Yeah,
school, I think, so.
one of them is actually more pro being together and learning about other people and accepting other people, and the other one, I think you're right. I think it's actually Tom Sawyer. It's kind of a Tom Sawyer is kind of an asshole, but Huckleberry Finn is actually more open-minded. I
Mm.
think that's how it worked.
Yeah, 'cause I remember the plot of Huck Finn was he was actually trying to help
Mm-hmm.
Joe escape.
He was trying to help Joe
Mm.
escape, whereas Tom Sawyer was tricking people into doing his chores.
Yeah, a bit of a difference between the two stories.
Hmm. Oh boy, painting this fence sure is fun.
Who wouldn't want to do that all day?
Hmm.
It wasn't even really painting, it was whitewashing. So isn't that like the equivalent of putting a primer coat on it? Not even
I
the actual paint? Or is
I
that
don't
just
know. I
different
think
phrasing for
whitewashing
the
is
time?
yeah. I think whitewashing is just painting it white so that you can paint it another color later without it bleeding through.
Hmm.
Which means you'd have to paint it again later.
This is where the public education system would come in handy to put context to such stories, considering when they were written versus when you are reading them and how things
Hmm.
have changed over time.
Indeed.
Rather than just saying, this book has horrible words in it. Think of the children's brains.
As the children's brains slowly turn to mush.
Hmm.
Um, what was I going to say? Something about something. What are we talking about again?
Uh, how to
Oh,
talk about books and plots and stuff in a sensible manner.
a lot of people seem to not know how to do that.
That would be something worthwhile in like a middle or high school level English class for when you're actually having to do those absurd book reviews that everyone hated, like how to actually think critically and
Mm.
say things in a non-ridiculously stupid manner.
In a class like I had a writing class like that in college where we had to critique each other's work. So we had to learn how to critique each other's work and actually provide
Constructive
positive,
criticism.
yeah, constructive criticism, not just say this part didn't make sense, but actually explain why and how we think we can improve upon it.
Mm. Maybe it's a matter of sort of the instant gratification lifestyle most people have now. They don't want to or don't know how to take the time to actually go that one step further
Hmm.
to provide the constructive criticism. They just figure I love it or I hate it, and then they leave it at that.
Yeah, I kind of
So
got that when I was talking to. I just recently read The First Fuzzy Business by Amelia Rittner, and when I was talking to her at Inconceivable, she said she got one review for the sequel, which was I think she said it was a 1-star review on Amazon, where he simply said, "I don't like how the book ends."
that is that person's opinion, and they are you have it, but it is not constructive criticism, and it doesn't explain why they didn't appreciate the ending or what didn't work for them.
Yeah, it doesn't explain anything. It says, "I didn't like it, so this book is bad." Meanwhile, she told me that the book ends in a cliffhanger and there's going to be a part 3, so
Yeah, with that added context, you gotta
yeah.
make the ending a little tricky.
Mm. And I'm sure it's in all fandoms. I see it even more than works of literature. Like, I see it in artwork, too, or towards artists. I see a lot of stuff like that. Artists will get pinned on only doing one style of thing, or one thing will happen is artists who open themselves to commissions, who may not accept a commission for somebody, will suddenly become targets. And the person who was denied a commission or missed out on the commission, like say, "Oh, I'm only opening up 10 slots right now," because a lot of artists will only say, "I'm only doing so many commissions, and then I'm going to do them all, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to open up again," so they don't become inundated with 100, works of art they now have to draw in a month.
Mm.
And if they fill up, and some people get left off, it's like, sorry, you missed it. Try again next time. Some people get really pissed off, and then they'll start attacking the artists and their artwork and saying negative things about the artwork that's not there, or just personally attacking the artist instead of being civilized about it and saying, "I understand. Next time you're open." They take it personally, which I think is what happens a lot with all these opinions, is people just take it personally when someone disagrees with them.
But in the context of the artist, they are providing a limited service. They're presumably stated up front, like, I only have 10 slots open. It's going to be first come, first serve. Once those 10 slots are full, you got to wait until next time round, blah de blah.
Some people take it personally, or if they'll ask for, "I want such and such thing drawn," and it's something really weird or really complex, and the artist will say, "I'm not comfortable drawing that," which you have to respect, especially considering I see a lot of artists who draw a lot of adult contact
Mm.
with various kinks, and some artists may not be comfortable drawing certain kinks, and when they say, "I'm sorry, I'm not drawing that kink," the person who requested it will get all offended and go on this whole big rampage instead of just going, "I understand you're not comfortable with this, I'll try a different artist who is."
Why be sensible about it?
Yeah.
Hmm. I guess I've lived in a very unique subset of artists then, because if I provide a commission idea and it's not doable, they tell me, and it makes sense. Usually
Yeah,
because I asked for something ridiculously over the top.
like one picture with 20 million people in it.
20 million and one.
You're getting a death glare right now, just so you know.
With full body poses, all the clothing, lots of background stuff.
I mean, usually a lot of people who do artwork will say right up, they'll have a little section that says, will not draw. And you gotta figure, well, they don't want to draw that because they're not comfortable drawing that for one reason or another. Don't ask. And don't ask why they won't draw it. Just leave it. They're not comfortable with drawing that. That should be enough for you. There are
And
plenty of other artists who will draw that.
if an artist isn't comfortable doing something and you would try to force them to do it, you're probably not going to get their best work if they chose to give it a shot.
But I want your style, which is great.
Mm.
But it's still not good.
Yeah, if you try to force an artist or a writer or whatever to do something that's not in their skill set or their comfort level, then you're not going to get their best work or even something that they're probably happy with. So it's not going to work for any of them.
Just don't do it.
That's why artists and authors and commission people tend to have a whole bullet point list written in legalese almost of explaining what they do and do not do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of necessary nowadays.
Yeah. But there will be people who will get denied, and they'll take it personally, and then they'll start trolling, they'll go on a tirade, they'll start hate smearing campaigns and flame wars and send anonymous hate to people on Tumblr. And
Why can't they all just take a lesson from like Bill and Ted and be excellent to each other?
this should all be excellent to each other.
And then watch the movie.
Remember that utopian future that they created,
Mm.
where everyone was excellent to each other?
It did look like a very interesting future.
Well, we only ever saw one room of it.
Mm. Maybe it was a complete wasteland outside for all. I think we've derailed our derailment of the first topic at this point.
I think we're still in the spirit of things, though.
Mm.
Be respectful of other people, and don't be insulting, and don't take it personally when someone disagrees with you. And if someone starts taking it personally when you disagree with them and is no longer trying to have an adult conversation, civilized with you, just end the conversation with them. And let them know. It's like, I'm not going to continue conversing with you because you're not being civilized about it. You're just trying to start an argument or a fight. So I'm not going to continue the conversation with you. And if you have the ability to cut them out, block them. If you can block, if you're on a forum or you can block people from posting, block them.
And I feel like more and more social media outlets have the ability to even report them.
Mm-hmm.
If they continue to harass you.
Mm-hmm.
So by all means, utilize those options if things continue or they can't seem to take the very obvious statement of, let's drop this.
Mm-hmm. And for the Tumblr users out there, remember that you can turn anonymous messages off so that people cannot send you anonymous messages.
I always forget about that.
Yeah, so if you are receiving what they call a non-hate, just turn it off for a little while. Then they'll stop because they can't hide behind the anonymous face. And if they continue to, they have to say their name, and then you can just block them and report them.
Is it still an option if you have the anonymous on for whatever reason and you get the hate mail, you can still block the anonymous user and then it kind of shows up through a bit of searching who they were?
I don't
They're
think
now
that
on your
works
blocked list,
anymore.
or?
That used to work. I don't think. Can you still block anon? No, you can't anymore.
Okay.
It used to work, and people still say it can, but it does not work. You cannot block anon messages and then figure out who they were by checking your block list.
Tried doing it numerous times.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Hmm. Good to know.
So just turn the anon off, and then if they continue, they have to do it under their name, so you can just block and report them.
Let's see. What was the other talking point we had?
Um,
Oh, yeah. Let's see. This is actually worth screen sharing. And the link that... Oh, how do we do that? Right. Merge all the stupid windows so it shows up there, and then we do the screen share. Then we do that, and then we do that. There we go. This week I found a very interesting research piece that came out about... They're basically calling them millennials, but it's anyone 30 and under. So it pretty much falls under that window, but there's a few outliers in that, I think. And their usage of public libraries and some of the breakdown amongst all of that. And I just thought it was a very interesting piece. The link is in the show notes on the website, but you can also just go to pewinternet.org, and it's the Younger Americans in Public Libraries report that came out on September 10th. So pretty recent comparatively. But it really goes into... Come on, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Don't freeze. I said don't freeze. There we go. Really breaks down different age groups and how they utilize public libraries even over time, which was interesting. And like different education levels for those age groups, and a lot of it is basically what most people would expect for the various demographics, how often they'd use it, how often they wouldn't, but it was kind of interesting to see that even across time, most people do utilize, or some people utilize the libraries regularly, but even like if you combined all of them, there's maybe 15% who go to the library once a month. Granted, I fall under that category because I only go once a month, maybe twice, which now I feel kind of bad about that because the public libraries are pretty darn good, at least around here. I'll speak for the New England public libraries. I can't really go beyond that because I don't have experience with them.
As a kid, I used to go to the library all the freaking time, and I was excited to go because I could get a new book to read. I haven't been to the library in years.
I mean, the one my town library has almost any book that I could want at the moment. They have a respectable reference section nowadays. They have computers you can utilize if you need them, study areas. A lot of the libraries around here, at least, are getting maker bots, which I have not taken advantage of yet, but if that is a growing trend, that's pretty cool.
What is a MakerBot? Is that the thing that like prints a book?
No, it's the 3D printer.
Oh, the 3D printer. Okay.
And they provide lessons on how to use them and create templates to put in them, and you can like schedule half an hour or an hour to use them and make whatever you want, which is pretty cool considering it's free.
The last time I seriously went to the library was in college. And I didn't take out any books. I was either printing something or studying.
I don't think our campus library liked me very much. I think I actually pissed them off more often than not. Because I would just wander the shelves and then, gee, this book looks really old and dusty, but very interesting. And it was like from 2 systems ago of how they catalog things, so they always had, any book I took out, they had to update in their system, and they were not happy people.
They should have just updated all their books when they did the update systems. That's on them.
You would think that, but I don't know what sort of funding they had at the time to accommodate that. Although the jaded part of me says they had plenty of funding considering how much money I gave them just for my 4 years.
Same here.
5 years, if you really count all of the summer terms.
Mm. It was actually, speaking of that kind of thing, I kind of laughed. There was a post going around online. We had to pay to print in the public library. It was like 10 cents a page or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a post about explaining why. Like someone had put a picture up. It's like, oh, it costs this much to, yada, 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 yada. And a student had printed out another little thing and put underneath it, I pay this much in tuition. Where does it go if I still have to pay for paper for the printer at the school I'm going to if I'm paying all this money just to attend the school? You think they could afford to let me print in the school library?
I mean, I can kind of understand if you're just printing hundreds upon hundreds of pages, that if there's a bulk print, then yeah, sure, that might cost a little something, but if you just need to print out a 4-page paper for your class, I don't know, I feel like that should slide.
Yeah.
I don't know what the printing costs are at my library. I know you still have to pay to print, but it's minimal, and that's the public library, and
The
funding
public library I definitely
stuff.
understand because that's tax funded, so they're
Yeah.
probably not getting all that much money.
Depending on the library.
Yeah.
Some are better sustained than others, to be fair, but
Mhm.
all of them could be better sustained.
Yes.
It was interesting in this report, just going back to that, some of the reading habits they managed to calculate. Like almost 90% across the board read at least one book in the past year. That's not much, but it's encouraging to think that everyone under 30, I think this was based in the US, so say 90% of Americans are reading at least one book a year if they're under 30. I'd prefer it if they read our book and purchased it, but that is neither here nor there. And they even gave like the median books read, and it seemed to be if you're 16 to 17, you read 8 books a year, and then it goes down to 6 as you get older. I'm curious if that factors in school books that you're reading.
It might
a lot of
factor
required
in.
reading.
It might factor in recommended reading or required reading over the summer. Schools will make you read so many books over the summer, but as you get older, once you've graduated.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Chances are they actually have the details of how they compiled all that in this report. I just haven't read it fully yet. I've been skimming through it when I had moments, but all sorts of various other tech usage for those age groups as well. Like, it was kind of nice to know that 16 and 17-year-olds, not everyone has a freaking smartphone, but
yeah.
Once you turn 18, apparently it jumps up considerably.
A lot of parents won't let their kids have smartphones.
I have no problem with this.
Yeah, there are a lot of parents who will not let their kids under 18 have smartphones, but as soon as those kids turn 18, they can get their own smartphones.
Considering I pay almost $100 a month for my smartphone, I think that makes sense, because not every parent is going to have that much money to drop down per month per kid.
Yeah, a lot of parents, they don't want their kids having their faces. I mean, Skyla doesn't have a smartphone. She's not allowed to have one until she's older. I didn't even have a cell phone until I went to college.
I didn't get my first cell phone until I got my license, I think. And that wasn't really until college because of ridiculousness. That's a story for the NSFWN podcast.
It was actually just, I don't remember what it was. I think it was, again, watching Game Grumps, and they referenced PDAs. And both the players just groaned because they're like, now I feel old. Because they were playing an older, stupid game, and they referenced PDAs. They're like, it's a regular thing. Everyone has a PDA, and they're like, remember when everyone had PDAs?
I presume they're talking about what was that stood for, like personal device
Personal,
assistant or some
I think it
such.
was, yeah, or data assistant or something like
Yeah,
that. Essentially, a
not
precursor to the smartphone.
yeah. We're not talking about public displays of
Digital.
affection. That's something else entirely.
No, 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 no. The digital devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game was before smartphones. It was a stupid game. But just the reference of PDAs is just like one of them was like, oh, now I feel old. Nobody uses PDAs anymore.
Yeah, they've kind of gone the same way as pagers and fax machines.
Pagers and fax machines. Remember when my dad was required to have a beeper on hand for his job? He hated the damn thing.
I don't know, we could probably use one for our group when we're at conventions.
Yeah. Just receive little messages. Get back to the booth.
Code 42, code 42.
Knowing us, though, everything would be code 42.
Huh. It's kind of sad to see that the amount of people who have library cards goes down as you get older. Maybe
Yeah.
people just don't renew their library cards.
I don't have one.
I just had to renew mine this month. Apparently it expired and I hadn't realized it.
Mm. I said, sadly, I have not been to a library and to actually like take out books in a long time. I used to love going as a kid.
Hmm.
I would check out books all the time and just devour them.
Yeah, I drove my grandmother crazy with that because, like, elementary school level, I would take out a dozen books and then I'd finish one before we even got home in the
Mm.
car.
I read so many books. Not for school, just for fun.
Yeah. I think that's how I got through most of the Boxcar Children series.
I think I read a lot of Goosebumps books as a kid that way. I didn't own any of them or only owned one or two, but I checked out a lot.
Hmm. Granted, that was back when those books cost, what, like $2.99 or $3.99 at most, so they weren't
Yeah,
overly expensive,
they
but
weren't expensive.
then again, when my uh, oh God, what is that? It's not. It's the children's version of a salary.
Allowance.
Yeah. Why couldn't I not think of that? My allowance was $2 a week, so I always had to wait like every other week. Then I could afford something.
I had a higher allowance than that. I think it was $10 every other week, but I didn't have an allowance as a little kid. That wasn't until I got older that my parents started giving me an allowance.
Well, the allowance was mostly if I clean this room and I do this and that, then I earn the $2,
Yeah.
and then I immediately spend it on books or Matchbox cars because I'm a kid.
You can get a couple good Matchbox cars for that. Back when Matchbox cars were good.
Yeah.
You know, they were real cars. And
Are
they
they
were made
still a
out.
thing, or have those kind of faded away?
I know you can still get Hot Wheels cars.
Hmm.
Matchbox is still around.
Matchbox is still around, I'm being told.
Yay.
But they're more expensive. They used to be $1
Hmm.
to get a car. Now they're more than $1. And they're not all metal anymore.
Blasphemy.
And half of them aren't even real cars.
Well, that's just sad.
They're just made up, weird looking things. You can't like go out and get like, the 1972 Corvette Matchbox car anymore. You get the weird made up super flame runner car.
That goes in space.
Yeah. And it changes colors in hot and cold water.
Well, that's just silly.
Hmm.
I think the only other data point from this report that really stuck out for me was when people described their public library's condition. It's nice to see that a lot of them said it's a nice, pleasant space to be, and most of the ones I've been to have been. Yes, some need updates for technology or just infrastructure, because some of those buildings do get pretty old.
Hmm.
But for the most part, they make the best of what they have. I think that's where a lot of the other people went into. This space is good, but could use some improvements.
Yeah. Do they still have those old newspaper machines, or is it all on computers now?
I know at least one of the libraries in this area still has a microfiche in storage, but it's not in regular use anymore.
Right.
I remember using them along with card catalogs,
Hmm.
but
I
I think most
remember.
is
I
going to kill.
remember having classes in elementary school where we would go to the school's library and learn how to use the Dewey Decimal System. That was a class we'd have, and we'd be tested on it.
Yeah, same here. I'd fail that now because I've forgotten most of how the Dewey Decimal System works.
I don't remember. I remember that it made sense. Like when it
Yeah.
was described, it was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I get it.
Mm.
But I don't remember which number is to what anymore.
That would be an interesting study to see if anyone or what age groups actually remember what the Dewey Decimal System is and
I
how it
doubt they
works.
even teach it anymore. They don't even teach kids how
No,
to read
there's
analog clocks anymore.
what?
Yeah, my stepdaughter doesn't know how to read an analog clock. They never taught her.
She does now.
She does now, but she didn't. There was no class for that. I remember a class for that in like kindergarten. They were teaching us how to read analog clocks.
Back in what was that, first college when I was a tutor up at the elementary school down the street, we they were teaching them how to read analog time along with digital. I had to help them with that, but
There
it
are
was a somewhat foreign concept.
there are schools that do not teach kids how to read analog clocks anymore.
That is sad.
Mm-hmm. So
Granted, not many people have an analog clock anymore, but
I
still.
remember having to learn how to read Roman numerals so I could read certain analog clocks. I'm sure that there are kids nowadays that don't even know what a Roman numeral is.
I forget what some of the Roman numerals signify, but I could probably still reverse engineer it easily enough.
I is 1, V is 5, X is 10, and that's all you need to know to read a clock.
Oh yeah. I forget M and L, which one's for what.
I think
That's when things get fuzzy.
I think M is 100, and I don't know. There's got to be one for 50 and one for 100.
Yeah.
L is 50.
L is 50.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the Super Bowl 50 recently, and they had a really logo, or an unexpected logo, I should say, because of that.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Super Bowl.
Neither do I, but they had a whole fuss about it at work, talking about that.
Super Bowl L.
Yeah. Now, see, I just said it was a stupid logo, but then I caught myself, and I went to unexpected,
Hmm.
because that is more constructive criticism.
Indeed. You don't have to be insulting to voice an opinion.
No. It just seems to be the default mode,
Hmm.
even for us. But, hey, I was aware of it, I changed it, there we go.
That's the important thing. Realizing it and backtracking and saying that's not the right thing to say.
There's a more effective way of stating what I want to convey.
Hmm. Like many of the commercials during the Super Bowl are, Unusual.
I feel like they're targeting certain demographics that may or may not actually exist.
It's possible.
I feel like there's a growing disconnect between the advertisers and who they believe is their target market versus who the target market actually is out there.
Considering I recently worked in retail, I can assure you that that is very much true.
That is unfortunate.
There's definitely a feeling if you work in retail as the salesperson side and you have to deal with the marketing and branding and new products that come down, and you look at the other products you're selling, sometimes you can really go, who are we selling this to? Like the store I worked in sold a lot of big, expensive electronics, and every now and then we get the stuff that's definitely for kids. And it was just like, who are we? I mean, typically we were supposed to bring in people with a lot of money to sell them expensive things they don't need. But now our primary goal is to sell this $20 product that's for small kids.
Well, the kids see the shiny objects, bring their parents in. You sell the small stuff to the kids, the big stuff to the parents.
I agree with that, except we were always required to put the small shiny thing right up front. So I think we should have had it in the store so that the kids could see it when they walk by, then actually pull their parents into the store. Instead, we were required to have it right at the door so that people could see it as they walked by and not even have to actually enter the store.
I would think for certain stores or styles that might be a valid way to do things, but for other stores, you would need to switch it up and bring the smaller stuff inside and create more of a guided experience through all of the products.
Plus, people who handle the layout of stores seem to think that customers like it when you rotate product around every 6 months or so. Something about making the store look fresh and new. But regular customers who come in looking for something they saw previously often get lost, and a lot of people won't ask for help, so if they can't find it right away, they'll just leave, even though it's just in a different place. So I never understood why we constantly just had to move products around when we weren't getting new stuff. If we were getting new stuff, I can understand moving stuff around. But sometimes it's just like, no, we're just going to move it all around. No real rhyme or reason to it. It's just like, nope, this is going to be on this wall here, and this is going to be displayed over here, and this is going to be over here.
Yeah, certain nutrition stores have been notorious for that, and even the employees, like, there's no reason for this. It's just busy work.
Yeah. I said the people in charge of the marketing think that if you move stuff around, it makes everything look new and fresh and attracts attention. But if you're a store that relies on regular customers, they just get frustrated because they get used to stuff being in a spot, and then they want to go to that spot to look at it again, and it's not there. They may just assume, oh, you don't carry it anymore, and leave without asking for help.
I feel like this was a mindset that's from like the 60s and 70s, and even then it wasn't very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Just wrapping up that last hockey point, this is a 32-page PDF report. It's free to view. You don't have to register or anything. The link is in the show notes, or you can just search pewinternet.org for it. Came out on the 10th, so it's still pretty fresh as of this live stream. If you're a librarian or appreciate your public library, it's definitely worth at least skimming through and reading the summary of findings. It's pretty fascinating.
And libraries don't shuffle their books around.
If they did, I would cry in frustration. I mean, they have shifted things from one bookshelf to another, but that's as they get more books in and certain sections grow or shrink, or they need to expand and provide other stuff.
They usually don't move entire categories around. Like, you know, you're not going to see the young adult section swapped over with the home and gardening section randomly.
No. Not unless if changes made to the actual building itself, or if they're doing construction on one area and need to shove everything else to the other spots in the building, then okay, yeah, but that's at least justified and explained.
I actually had that recently. We went to the bookstore and they had a whole bunch of empty shelves as they were moving stuff around.
Hmm.
It annoyed me because I was going to look for the newer R.A. Salvatore books we talked about recently, and those were the shelves that were now empty.
Obviously, they were entirely bought out
Mm.
from all of our viewers and listeners. They made sure to go to your bookstore, not mine.
They know better than to go to your bookstore. The books are already gone. You've already bought them all.
Mm. I'm not allowed to go back there for a little while now. Mainly because of the monthly, well, not even monthly anymore, the website story bundle, where they keep on doing those bundles of books. I keep getting every single freaking one. Because I can't not. I mean, they had a dark fantasy one and another, some sci-fi one for this month. I couldn't not. And I still want to do a recording of all of the books in my to-be-read pile just to kind of drive home how many I have, but it's now 123. I've gotten through 2. I don't want to record 123 books. That is an entire 3-shelf bookshelf.
I would just pan the camera over it and just be like, this is all of them.
I could do that now, since I'm on the laptop.
It's up to you.
First off, shift to the show notes. That's not the show notes. Where are the show notes? There are the show notes. Yeah. Next up would be the highlights reel, but let's see if I can actually do this without knocking anything over. Gonna do this slowly so it doesn't spaz out. That small bookshelf, 3 shelves, they're 2 rows per shelf. That's 123 books.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of books.
And most of them have more than 1 story per book.
Mm.
So they're compendiums, so I don't even know what the official full count is.
This is my to-read pile. This is my to-read pile.
Would you like some more? I have a few to spare.
One of these is yours.
And that one has 5 in them.
It does. It does. I think I have 1 manga in the other room that I still have to read. One volume of Soul Eater. That would be an interesting series. Soul Reader. Yeah, I have 1 volume of Soul Eater to read. I'm way behind on that and so many others. Whatever.
I have issues with manga at the moment because of the recent chapters for Fairy Tail and Naruto.
I saw your post for the Fairy Tail one where you're like, what was it, Fairy Tail anime? Yay! Fairy Tail manga.
Yeah. The Fairy Tail anime is happy at the moment. The Fairy Tail manga is a WTF Hiromashima moment at the moment for now, because it's issue 400.
Mm.
But certain plot points have been revealed, and we're all just going, what the F is going on in 401? We need answers.
Oh, and actually, Soul Eater is an interesting thing to point up about the first talkie point. There's a lot of contention between the manga and the anime for that, and the endings, which is apparently very different between the 2 series.
That seems to be an unfortunate trend with either anime adaptations of manga or vice versa, although it's usually anime adaptations of manga that I've seen.
From what I can tell, for the most part, you either like one ending or the other, and if you like one ending, you hate the other. So, like, if you really liked the anime ending, the manga ending you think is like the worst thing ever. And then I think there's a vice versa group. I don't know how it ends on either point, so I don't know.
I feel
But I
like
know there's a part where the two deviate drastically.
I feel like that also holds true for two other primary manga anime verses, primarily Full Metal Alchemist and Sailor Moon, since they've had various adaptations at the moment with different
Hmm.
spin-off points.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into Full Metal Alchemist. I could go on. I've never even finished it, and I could go on with opinions on it. Then I'm not going to.
Those are
About the
prime
differences.
examples of people having trouble speaking rationally about those series.
Yes, people do not speak rationally about Full Metal Alchemist.
No, they don't.
They form their concrete opinions, and if you disagree with them, then you're just wrong. Hell, Ed was reading through the manga timelining just to make sure that things he had canon for his roleplay were canon or not. And boy, did he do a little victory dance when he learned that something he had headcanon was actually canon.
Nice.
He jumped for joy. He's like, it's not just me, it's canon, it's in the manga.
I took shit for that.
Yeah, he was taking flack for that, and it was in the manga. So it's like, nope, it's canon, I'm right.
Taking shit.
Something about how the lieutenants had gone through the academy or something like that.
Havoc and Breda.
Havoc and Breda. According to the manga, they all went through the academy.
Would there be an alternative to that?
Not going through the academy.
Well, yeah.
Apparently, people say they didn't go through the academy when the manga points out that they actually both did.
Minor
like-
detail.
It's one panel on one page, so I guess it's easy to miss. And it's just kind of casually mentioned. Not a big deal is made out of it, but it is mentioned that they went through the academy.
It's a big deal, but it's not.
It was a big deal to you.
Well, no, because what it was is it was actually explaining where Roy picked up his team.
Right.
But it was one page. It wasn't like anything. It was during the whole big flashback scene, so it was easy to miss.
Before we actually do go down that dangerous route of talking about those plots, let's go to the highlights reel.
Let's just not go down that dangerous road and just go to the highlights reel.
Alright, back to the screen share. We have a couple highlights this time round. And then we do this.
Ooh, pretty.
We're expanding to all sorts of highlights, including artists, because artists are most entertaining. This is actually one of my nano friends who I didn't realize they had a Tumblr, and for whatever reason I wasn't following them yet. Shame on me. But she'd recently posted how she was doing more for her art and even a Patreon page, which is also linked in the show notes. But thought we'd actually highlight some artists every once in a while because there's a ridiculous amount of them out there, and they all have their own styles. So it's interesting to see some variety every once in a while. This is a little hard to convey on the audio stream, unfortunately, so for the audio episodes, for this part, we're sorry.
There are a lot of pretty colors.
Yeah, this artist, Anna Landon, does character designs, most of them of her own style and design and uniqueness. She's also, if I remember correctly, the one who's doing various one-shot graphic novels or comics. I'm not sure which term she prefers offhand. She's pulling several of them together into various series. And I know last year she did a whole series for Christmas for the Advent season. So like one page per day of a story, which was pretty entertaining. And the link to her Patreon is also in the show notes, just for fun if you want to help support an artist in her endeavors. And she has all sorts of shiny baubles in thanks. We're also tossing it in a YouTube user this time round, because I've been trying to do some more digging for those. This time round is World Book, which is a channel on YouTube that does book reviews of a lot of different genres. Some of the playlists were humor, biographies and memoirs, business, money, children's books, a little different than all of those, cookbooks, food and wine, romance, sports and outdoors, action and adventure, so covering a full gambit of options, even psychological. They all seem to average about 5 to 10 minutes, so they're nice quick hits to give you an idea of each book. They have lots and lots of reviews up at this point. So if you're not one for just sci-fi, fantasy, and the general fiction pulp, you might want to check out the YouTube channel World Book for what they have been reading and recommend, considering they conveniently put all of those genres into different playlists, so you can skim those at your leisure. And that's in the show notes as well, the link to them. And we did not have any other highlights for this week. So that means it's time for Muse Food, rather than take it off a screen share just to put it right back on. Oh, I didn't go to the PDF. Because why would I do that? Go to the PDF. Alright. Every week we like to provide various creative prompts for your muse. I was blanking on my elevator pitch for this. We provide 10 one-liners, 10 one-worders, a combination of Rory's story cubes for a more visual writing prompt, and we also provide a musical prompt and an artistic prompt. So we're kind of expanding out, providing a wider gambit for everyone. Let's see. There's only 2 of us this week, so I will take page 2, since I tend to do, and I'll take the story cubes this time around. I give you the one-line and one-worders.
Alrighty, one-liners and one-worders. Very well. So, the one-line writing prompts for this week are as follows. I'm going to do it in an announcer voice. There is no silence. There are merely noises you haven't heard yet. That's actually pretty ominous. I like that. We'll just go ahead and roll with it. Who owns 4 houses and a hotel? Viewers are not allowed to know what's behind the plaid curtain of doom. I don't even want to know why you need a pair of scissors and 3 rolls of duct tape. I'll be sharpening my knife. It's magma, not lava, you dunce. She lives in a tree, a magical floating tree. There's a T for that. This check is written on a soiled napkin. And the one-word writing prompts are hard, voice, wheeze, power, quantum, link, streak, battery, diamond, and voice again.
Oh, bugger.
Double voice.
Maybe it's in stereo.
We'll use that as the replacement word. The 10th word is actually stereo.
That's what I get for listening to certain things in the background while I'm pulling all those together. Alright, the story cubes for this week, as I interpret them, are a surprisingly happy person digging a hole that they are in. That can't end well. We have a skull and crossbones in a circle, possibly for poison, possibly on a very weird-shaped pirate flag, you never know. We have, I want to say that's a Shinto shrine or some such style archway. We have a puzzle piece. We have a monkey. We have a word bubble. We have that freaking image of an L or Tetris piece or some such. No one has been able to give an official answer of just what that actually is supposed to be. We have a very upset person crying, and then we have a very large pill. And for your musical prompt this week, we have a series of, what is that, eighth notes and then a dotted quarter. But it's eighth note, oh god, going down. I should have written this down beforehand. Oh, I'm blanking. It's probably better that I not just going to guess on this because I will probably piss off musicians once they look at it and say, like, those aren't the notes. But we have.
You should probably from now on just write the notes on the top bar.
Well, yeah. That would be the sensible thing to do. I remembered them at the time as I was putting them in, but then I didn't write them in my notes, so that would be silly. It has been forever since I've done sheet music, as I mentioned on previous episodes, so we got 5 eighth notes and then a dotted quarter. It's not like we're singing these notes, so musical people are going to have to look at the sheet music regardless to utilize the prompt.
If Calvin sees this, he's going to shake his fist at you later.
Well, he can't read sheet music either. Unless he's actually taken the time to learn it since last time. I know he's been meaning to at some point, so he might have.
Well, it's alright. Some of the greatest bands don't know how to read sheet music. I mean, Death Clock doesn't know how to read sheet music.
Fair point. And just to wrap up these prompts, the artistic prompt for this week is Afternoon Despair.
Oh dear.
No more afternoon delight for you.
Oh dear.
Those are the creative prompts for this week. If you happen to utilize any of these prompts, we would love to read, listen, or see them. You can send us a copy of them via our email address, which is wordninja@fcwriters.com, conveniently at the bottom of each PDF. And I think that's everything that needs to be screen shared. So I'm going to take myself off. And then I'm going to peek at the show notes, which the general public is not supposed to see. And then, yeah, no submissions for this week. So onwards to everyone's favorite segment, which has evolved yet again. We're kind of bringing it back a little bit. The weekly goals and aspirations have...
We used a Firestone on it, and it evolved.
Yeah. It's kind of evolved into just productivity highs and lows. Rather than perpetually each week talking about stuff that's going to happen in a few months, and then not much changes from there, we're just going to focus more on stuff that happened in the past week. Like what things worked or what things did not. And this way, we don't have to say each week, like, I'm going to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And then next week, well, I didn't. And it's usually useful to be a little introspective and think like, well, what did I accomplish last week? And what did work, what didn't? Things like that. Oh, actually, we're going to backtrack because someone a lot more proper with music actually gave me the notes. Oh. Do I still have that up? I still have that up. Just for convenience sake, we're going to quickly flow back to the musical prompts. We have eighth note G, eighth note G, eighth note D, eighth note G, eighth note G, dotted quarter D. It would have taken me another 2 minutes or so to finally reverse engineer the order of notes to the point where I could have done that myself, but that's not good audio or video for a live stream. So thank you, Annie, for that. All right, back to the productivity highs and lows. And we're going to try and keep those to just 3 things, but regardless of if it's positive or negative per week. Because some of us occasionally have weeks where we're ridiculously productive, but we don't really want to be sitting here for 10 minutes as one person just goes on and on about everything they accomplished. So this really is just going to be the highlights for that. Mine are, I actually answered some emails I've been needing to respond to, and I actually, on the fly, did a couple more for this podcast. So we're actually going to get a couple people for interviews that I was not expecting, which is really cool.
Nice.
We're just still pinning down which episodes due to the new schedule. And I have continued my sketch-a-day goals, and I'm learning a lot more of just what I need to focus my practice on, which is everything.
Do you want to share your sketches?
I just finished actually inking the outline for the only one that's not completely hilariously embarrassing, but Fairy Tale logo.
Nice.
I've been trying to figure out body posing, and that has been an exercise in frustration and amusement. Those are not worth sharing. It's not NSFWN level, but it's just like, no.
You're not comfortable sharing them because of the quality?
Well, I've figured out the pose I want to do, but only after I've done a different pose, so now I need to erase the old one and figure out the new one, and it's getting pretty messy on that page, so I'd like to clean it up a little bit first, so people can actually see what it is. It's not just a blob of graphite. I don't have you on screen, so I only hear the noise in the background. I have no idea what's going on.
Ed was trying to get you to share more of your artwork.
Maybe off air.
Maybe off air.
Do it!
He showed his Fairy Tale logo.
The only other productivity high and low I have for this week was I figured out my nano plot for the year.
Yay!
During yesterday's write-in, I used a very frustrating exercise to figure things out, but it actually really helped figure out just how I want the whole plot to be spun. So, yay!
Yay! Yay!
And those are my highs. Actually, those are all highs. I didn't really have a low.
That's
Yay!
it. Yay! Yay!
And now for Will.
Okay, so my highs and lows mine are actually mostly highs as well. I successfully upgraded my computer back to 64-bit Windows 7 with
Huzzah.
minimal fuss. Still reinstalling some things, but
That went a little quicker than I expected, actually.
it did. I had one snafu where my Internet Security was flagging a necessary install file as spyware and removing it during installation, thus causing the installation to fail at a later step. But I got by that by turning off the Internet Security while I was running the install. So, yeah. I'm just installing some extra stuff, games. I need Audacity again. Got to get the Minecraft server up and running again. But, yeah, shouldn't take too long. I also read during that process, because it was an all-day process, I read the first Fuzzy Business by Amelia Rittner. I think it's on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Great read. It was very entertaining, very good read. A lot like a classic 80s action movie, which
cool.
is sort of my thing, so I really enjoyed it. And I have been developing my game plan for getting back into writing regularly. I've been looking through the previous chapters and reminding myself of what I had written and what I hadn't written, and trying to get back on track, things like that. Hopefully soon I'll get back into updating that regularly, because I really, really want to, because I have ideas for plot in my head for future chapters, but I got to get through this part. I think I'm at that. We talked about it once before, that those middle of the novel doldrums, or like halfway through the story, and we're halfway between the beginning and the ending, and everything's just kind of like boring, and we get bored, and we don't want to write anymore. I think that's where I'm at, because I feel like I'm about halfway through the story. So, or a little bit past halfway. And I know where I'm going. I know where my conclusion is and how to get there. But the part I'm at right now is just kind of like, ugh.
Well, trim the sails, break out the oars, and get rolling.
I'm going to have to start beating on the drum. Row! Right! Right! And that's mostly it. And if we're going to talk about Nano, I think I'm going to not write a new story for Nano this year, but finish last year's Nano story this year.
There's a term for that, but I forget exactly what it was. It started with a Z, and it sounded similar to the Zanpakuto, but something slightly different.
I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I never actually wrote the ending to that one. And I want to go through, read it, edit, write the ending, and get it done. So I may spend November doing that instead of writing a new story that I don't have a plot for.
Well, you have a month and a half to review what you have so far.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm going to keep track of word totals since I'm not writing a brand new story, but...
Some people just continue a story, but on November 1st, here's word 1 starting November 1st of the continuation.
Well, I don't have another 50,000 words in me for this story.
Not yet, anyway.
It's pretty much the ending that I have to write. It's not going to take me another 50,000 words to write the ending. It's already like a 60,000 word story.
It's not bad.
And I'm way past the halfway point. I'm basically up to the conclusion stuff. I just have to actually write that stuff.
Well, get on it.
I will. In November.
Enough with the vibrating. Hey, more comments. It's hard to multitask, especially as I'm probably on camera.
You are on camera.
That's the Zako 2 clause for continuing a story. Zakotu. That was close.
I guess I'll be doing that.
Alright. Next up is events. There's only 4 for this year left. Brooklyn Book Festival, September 21st, which is this coming Sunday, I believe. Goodness. It's probably a good thing that we don't have a show that day. Yay. Justin, myself, and Calvin will be attending. If you are in that area, I encourage you all to attend because it is free. There's a ridiculous amount of awesome authors there with vendor tables, and there's a lot of good speakers and all sorts of entertaining shenanigans going on. And who knows, maybe you'll spot us there. It is also the beginning of Banned Books Week from September 21st to 27th. What is that? It's bannedbooksweek.org is their website if you want to check out what they're offering. And that includes episode 60 of Word Ninjas Live. And I'm actually working on trying to get a special guest or 2 on for that episode. That's going to be fun. And then, of course, the last convention for us this year is Rhode Island Comic Con, October 31st to November 2nd. Myself, Will, Ed, and Calvin will be attending. And for that Saturday and Sunday, we're probably going to be a little spastic and possibly cranky because it's November 1st and 2nd. So I think there's going to be minimal sleep that weekend between the table, trying to track down very entertaining guests, that are there and writing. And then, of course, November 1st to 30th is NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. If you don't know what that is, nanowrimo.org. Go check it out, go sign up, and join us in the ridiculous shenanigans.
And don't come hunting us down out of vengeance in December.
Granted, we apologize for nothing, but...
We've been there. We've suffered as well.
That actually wraps up this episode. We've gone through all the segments, talked about all we want to talk about for this week. If we have entertained you in any way, shape, or form, you are more than welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch, comment, thumbs up all of the various videos. It has our entire backlog of Word Ninjas Live, a couple other interviews, workshops, book reviews, a little bit of everything. For our audio listeners, the short link for that is wnja.us/YouTube. And of course, we have all of our various social media accounts as well. Twitter's at FCWordNinja, Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com, Facebook, facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. By all means, follow, subscribe, link, like, all those good things. If you want to help fund our various endeavors, you can go to our Etsy store and peruse all of our shiny baubles. We are working on getting certain products promoted and discounted. We might have a sale here or there. We're still figuring out the details and logistics for that, but keep an eye out for those. And just so you all know, those purchases do help pay for convention attendance and coordination, tech recording upgrades, global domination, coffee, the usual stuff. That, if you want to check that out, the link's in the show notes, or for the audio listeners, etsy.com/shop/fullcoveragewriters. And for those of you who are new, this live stream and all that we do is run by Full Coverage Writers, which is an online repository of resources primarily for writers, but also available for other creative people out there. The website for that is fcwriters.com. And as we mentioned previously, the email is wordninja@fcwriters.com if you want to touch base with us. And there's all sorts of other organizations and people that we appreciate. They are in the show notes, and you should definitely go check them out and enjoy all of their various products and shenanigans. And with that, it's time to tell our listeners and viewers just who we are as hosts and where they can track us down personally. We all have various links in the show notes, but we're just going to highlight some of the more easy ways you can track us down, or where we're actually prevalent. For myself, the best way you can track me down is on my Tumblr, which is fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. That is NSFW-ish at times. I do tag those things accordingly. Everything else is probably not, but just so you know. And you can also track me down as Makarov on the Fairy Tale Podcast on Monday nights via their YouTube channel. That usually runs at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And how about the Will?
You can mostly find me on my Tumblr page as well at darkhom.tumblr.com, spelled DARKHOM. Excuse me. It's pretty not safe for work, but I do tag the not safe for work stuff, so if you're at work, you can block that kind of stuff and still see the safe work stuff I post. You can also check out the Tumblr page I created for My Roommate's a Stripper at myroommatesastripper.tumblr.com, where I post chapters, fan art, and things like that, behind-the-scenes stuff and characterization stuff. Obviously, that's also not safe for work since the story itself is not safe for work. And that's pretty much mostly where you can find me these days. Or apparently dying from allergies or something.
No dying allowed. We don't have insurance for that. And for our other co-hosts who were unable to join us today, if you want to track them down, just go to the show notes for the episode. All of their links are there, along with the others that we did not mention. And with that, it's going to wrap up episode 59 of Word Ninjas Live. Remember, after this, our schedule is changing to Wednesday nights now at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Still the same channel. It'll still work the same way, more or less, just different time and day. So the next time we will meet is, what was that, the 24th?
10 days from today.
Yes. So keep an eye out for that. Until then, have a good week all.
See you then.
They're like, my opinion is blah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, this is what I believe. It is not an official statement. It isn't necessarily canon. This is not what the creator has officially stated. This is just what I feel like makes sense.
Yes, definitely make sure your opinions are stated as opinions. And don't try to sound all hoity-toity.
Unless you are the creator of something and then you're actually discussing it, then hey, by all means say, this is what I am writing, this is how I am putting this. If people are having trouble understanding that, or it's not being conveyed to you in that manner, then okay, let's work on that, figure out a better way of doing it. It rarely seems to get to that point. It always seems to devolve.
Yeah. It goes down to the you're wrong, you're stupid, no you're wrong, you're stupid kind of thing. And then nothing is accomplished.
Why do I feel like that's how a lot of the challenged books have been challenged?
Probably.
Because people just can't seem to have a valid discussion about them. Would actually be interesting to see if we could get behind some of those, why the book was challenged and what was the positioning from the challenger and all that, to see if that would hold up.
I mean, some of them made sense if it's racially charged or whatnot. I was actually watching some videos on... it was funny because we're talking about banned books, and was it Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn that was banned? Or both?
Probably both, but I think it was Tom Sawyer specifically.
Because I was watching the Game Grumps, and they were actually talking about those books and how Tom Sawyer was banned because it uses the N-word. And it's not exactly PC on modern days. But he talks about how if you actually read the book, I think it was Tom Sawyer, I forget which one it was. It was either Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn, is actually very positive. Like,
to be a freaking method or option or way of doing some sort of rational discussion with other human beings about these topics. It just doesn't feel like it.
Especially if you're trying to have said conversation on the internet.
Yeah. If it's person to person, usually you can kind of gauge their body language and kind of tweak your messaging and tone and voice and all that to at least make it somewhat neutral. But
plus, people tend to be more civil in person because their words are going to their specific name and face. They can't hide behind the anonymity of the internet.
Yeah, there's that too.
But yeah, if you're on the internet, Tumblr, Reddit, Facebook, forums, wherever you're talking about, there's a potential. It's just no hold bars flame fests. I've seen it happen. It's depressing and makes me lose faith in humanity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shows and stories and universes out there that I'm a pretty solid fan of or really like to enjoy discussing. But I have my opinions and people have theirs. It seems to be very hard to discuss, like, this is how I perceive things to be versus that is how they perceive things to be, and then we leave it at that.
Hmm.
No one really seems to care much about what the creator believes or what their perception on things are or what they believe canon is, and as
Hmm.
the creators, what they say is canon is canon.
Hmm. There's a post I've seen going around on Tumblr that's a friendly reminder of what headcanon really means. It does not mean I disagree with the original creator, so I'm changing the plot. It means this area is kind of fuzzy and not explained well, so I'm going to fill in some details to better explain it. That's what headcanon means.
Is there a proper term for I don't like the creator's vision, so this is my vision, and everyone else should just believe what I say?
uh, there is, but the words I would use might make this not suitable for word ninjas.
Fair enough.
Basically, it's called being a
Not nice person.
for the so and so for the yeah.
Hmm. It is interesting how people can get so invested in certain. God damn it. Certain. I was hoping that was far away enough from the mic. Apparently not.
Do you leave it on the same desk?
It's on the same desk, but it's 2 feet away. But
But the vibrations will carry through the desk and the mic will pick it up.
apparently. I'm going to put that somewhere else so that if people comment on the video, it doesn't pick up as much. And completely derail my thought.
We were talking about you're saying something about how people are so invested in their headcanons, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting how some universes people are so invested in characters or certain plot points or something that they have so much trouble allowing for other people's views and opinions.
It's probably good Ed's not on this one because he'd probably rant for a while since he's in the roleplay community from one of the biggest anime and mangas out there.
Which has multiple versions, and everyone has their preference.
Mm. But going back to the original topic about how we can have these conversations, specifically speaking on the internet, I think the easiest way to avoid... You can have those intellectual conversations on the internet. It's just how you go about it. I find avoiding insults is really good. I've seen people start out their rationality with insulting other people. Don't do that because right off the bat you're lighting a fuse.
This version. Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 59 of Word Ninjas Live. We have a short crew this weekend since people are off doing various shenanigans and diabolical machinations, as we do. But I am, as always, your instigator of literary productivity, Charles, and joining me today is the person with the best attendance record so far, Will.
Do I get a certificate of attendance?
Yeah, you'll get like a $10 gift card or something at some point. And then everyone else will just point and mock them at some point.
I'll hold up my certificate and be like, ha ha ha.
That's what they get for missing out on episode 59, the last official Sunday episode.
Indeed.
Due to various scheduling shenanigans, we have decided that Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is a more viable option going forward. So not this Wednesday, but next is when episode 60 will happen. So don't look for us this coming Sunday. We're not going to be around. I think some of us are actually going to be at, what is that, Brooklyn Book Festival.
Officially, just so people know, the next episode will be on September 24th.
Yeah, that day. Alright. Come on, slide over to show notes. There we go. All right, we are tweaking things a little bit before we make the migration to a new night, but we still have some conversation topics, as I have rephrased them for the moment. We'll see how long that sticks. I've tossed in two for this week. The first one being, how can readers, viewers, or just fans of a particular universe have a rational discussion of plot or character elements without falling back to just name calling and saying, my opinion is the only one that matters, and screw anyone who says otherwise? Because their has is stupid, because the other version was more entertaining to me and
Yeah.
to everyone else.
Don't go off insulting anyone or anything or anyone's opinions at all. You can disagree with someone else's opinions, and I've seen it done on the internet really well, where people actually have intelligent conversations from opposing viewpoints without insulting each other. And instead of going, you're wrong and here's why, you should go, that's a valid opinion that I disagree with and here's why. You're not saying the other person's wrong, you're just saying you don't agree with them. And that's fine, because it's opinions. Excuse me. If you want to avoid the trolls, which you're going to get. You're going to get trolls. People who are there are people who are specifically going to disagree with you violently just to piss you off. They don't necessarily even have an opinion or know what you're talking about, but they'll disagree with you because they enjoy hiding behind the anonymity of the internet to piss other people off. That's what block lists are for. Just block them. Hide their comments. Ignore them. Because they want to get your goat. And if you ignore them and don't acknowledge them, they'll go away. Because they want to upset you, and if you're not getting upset, then they're not going to have any fun, and they'll go somewhere else.
And that's why the phrase, don't feed the trolls, is a phrase.
Don't feed the trolls. And encourage other people who are talking with you to not feed the trolls as well. Because other people might see that someone else said something, and then it starts a war behind your back. See it on Tumblr all the time, where someone will send a nasty comment to someone, and other followers will start sending nasty comments back to the first person, and then it just gets worse.
Seeing as there's so much anonymity available online, I think if people still do utilize that, even if they're trying to be sensible, maybe there's some phrasings you can utilize to better put your opinion and position out